Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, the topic is a new law that has been passed by LA City Council. Now, this one is a little bit of an adjustment that we've been going through for the last, I'd say, 10 years now in the real estate kind of rental space, which is in regards to Airbnbs or short-term rentals. Now, apparently, this law that they have passed now is going to require Airbnbs and hotels to obtain a police permit prior to being able to list their properties. Now, I think that there are always mixed opinions on these kinds of laws. Obviously, there are obvious perceived benefits, but there are obviously situations that arise and also infringements on people's liberties, effectively, which is a big thing here in the US. So in Los Angeles, we have had and we do have, depending on the area, limitations that are set on short-term rentals. For instance, some areas you can only rent your primary residence. That means you can't be buying residential units, apartments and saying, hey, or sorry, condo units and saying, hey, I'm going to just buy this because I'm going to rent it out short term. Those are for long term. And if it is your primary residence, you can rent that for as much as 6 months of the year. You can't just have it always rented all the time. So that was a restriction that I believe came in about 2016. It is not for all of LA. There are different areas that have different variations of that law. But this is a different one, which actually I have quite mixed opinions on. Now, there are other things within the city that you need to get a police permit for. And obviously that means that you are going to be going through an approval process, but in this situation, also a background check. So it's a situation now where if you would like to go and lease your property, you can't just say, right, I'm going to list it on Airbnb or I'm going to list it on booking.com or an equivalent website and then just kind of write the listing yourself, take pictures and accept bookings. Now have to effectively go to the police, apply for this permit, pass that permit process, then get the permit, which allows you then to do this. So I can see why they've done that in LA and in certain areas of LA, West Hollywood, for example. There are a lot of situations where people will just rent a house for 1 or 2 nights just to have a party there. Now, obviously, that doesn't sound like such a bad thing, but if you are a neighbor of one of these properties and that is a regular occurrence that people are just renting this property and kind of having parties that they wouldn't necessarily throw in their own homes, i.e., going a bit more crazy, having more people in the house than is necessary or is safe. We have seen, from my memory, a few years ago, in I think it was West Hollywood as well. There was a deck out in front of one of the properties. It was an older property, and they had too many people actually on that deck, and it collapsed, causing some serious injuries. So obviously there is kind of an advantage, I think, to that screening. It does also, apparently, according to this law, give neighbors the ability to challenge that, to say, look, like, I do not want this to be a short-term rental next to me. I think hopefully in this situation that you would have to have some basis for, saying that this is something that we don't want. You can't just say, hold on, I don't like short-term rentals and therefore I'm not going to allow this having next to my house. But it does give some pushback to that. And I can understand that. If my house here, if the neighbor next door decided to rent it out non-stop and it was just being used 24 hours a day for parties, I have 2 young children and they were being woken up at all hours of the night, I would like to have something where I could, go against that and talk to the city and say that this isn't acceptable. Hopefully my neighbor would listen to me and that would be great and we would come to an understanding, but that isn't always the case. There are also situations that have arisen, especially with California, specifically laws in regards to evicting tenants. I know that there is a situation right now where a doctor, I believe, rented his guest house out, and there is a tenant who seems to have done this regularly, but is just refusing to leave. They're not paying the rent, but because of California eviction laws, there's nothing that the doctor can currently do to get that tenant out until they agree to leave. And normally that has to end up in somehow them getting access to the property when the tenant's not there, which is very hard to do, or basically having them agree to leave. And normally that is paying them a sum of money to do that. So it is a weird situation under LA law. So again, this does kind of put parameters on that I think that could be advantageous. However, the other side of it is, one, for me is it's your house. You know, you own that property and you should be able to do with that property what you want, whether that is living in it yourself, whether that's renting it out to someone year by year, or if that is renting it out night by night or week by week. I do think that that is yours. You own it. You've gone through the effort of earning that or buying it and gone through the process of that. And so there needs to be freedom there. The other side as well is that there is an indication that it's obviously going to cost money. And so, you know, for you to go through a background check, you know, is that necessarily something that needs to be there? Obviously, you want a landlord to be someone you can rely on. However, if they have had something that's gone on in their past and they are an upstanding citizen now, that prevents them from being able to, again, rent out a property they own. But the big thing I think is the cost of it. Now, if you're going through a background check, as I said, there is a cost to that, whether that's fingerprinting, whether that's running the checks through data and through the databases in the US. And so generally, police will charge a fee to do that. Now, apparently in this situation, there has been suggestions that this could be fees of up to $260. So if someone is going to rent out their property, they're going to need to probably get this permit once a year, every couple of years, and they're paying $260 out of pocket before they've even listed the property to rent it. And depending on the property, that may take, you know, a week, 2 weeks in order to get that back. Hopefully, or not hopefully, but I think a lot of properties that are going to be in that space in LA are going to be expensive. And so therefore, hopefully that is not a big, you know, take out of the potential rent someone could earn. But this also does put more red tape in that situation. There are apparently at the moment 6,725 short-term rental units within the city of LA. And this is obviously going to affect all of those, which is going to generate, you know, hopefully it's not money that is on top of what the actual fee is going to be for going through that background check, but who knows? We'll see how that plays out. Airbnb apparently have refused to weigh in or give a comment on this. And I do think that is something with me in Los Angeles and in California in general. There's just so much red tape here. I struggle now to keep up with the laws of what you can buy, what you can sell, what taxes are going to be coming in on specific areas in LA, let alone California, which now are just being added and added and added on. So that is, you know, another thing where it's just, to me, it's kind of a little bit unnecessary, even though I see the positives of it. It also is going to apply to hotels. So again, you know, if it's a hotel that has got a bad reputation, you know, having them go through background checks, I think is good. But also people have pushed back on that in the hotel industry. Apparently there's, in the Hotel Association, 600 members, and they already have police permits, but the group is concerned about having that as a necessary requirement. If it's only $260 for a hotel, I don't see that as being a big thing. But I wanted to make you guys aware of this. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. I would love for you to write a comment below and tell me what you think and whether you think that I'm right or I'm wrong, or if I haven't considered something about this topic. Anyway, guys, if you could tune in, if you could write a comment, if you could set notifications, subscribe, do all of those things just to help me grow this channel, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm back again with another video on Monday.